Mm. We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. I am your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. That's Auburn Live on 3. Today is Sunday, Cinco de Mayo.
Oof.
I did not even realize it. I'm sitting over here drinking water.
Oh my goodness.
Shame on me.
No margarita for you today, huh?
Yeah. A little jalapeno margarita.
That margarita it'll sneak up on you. You gotta be careful.
Mr. Allen Head, Mr. Cole Pinkston, as always, joins me when they're here. 100% of the time when they're here, they're always here. How about you, fellas?
How about you? You know, we got to give Cole some credit because it was me and you that dipped out last week, and he was the one holding the fort down strong.
Did a great job.
I opened and I said, and this is no slight at Zach. It was more at me. And I said, look, we're going to be lacking a little bit of personality. But the analysis, you can expect that to be on point. Of course, now we got it all back. We got the team back together. So we're good to go.
Back together again. We're going to get to the phone lines as quickly as possible tonight, 701-779-9585. Before we do, real quick, Auburn, Opelika area, Lee County. Can you hear this dog going crazy in the back?
Not at all.
Okay, good. My gosh, dude. Speaking of Jessica Andrews, her freaking dog's downstairs raising a cane. Jessica Andrews, but I tell you what, she can move some houses, folks. Give her a call if you're Lee County looking to move, looking to buy one, maybe buy one to flip, investment property. She can do it all, folks. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. A lot of fours in her number, but she is a 5-star realtor. If you don't believe me, just ask me. Give her a call, folks. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. All right, let's get a real quick rundown of the happenings of this week. We saw
Khalil Jacobs
visited Auburn, postponed his visits to Missouri and Alabama. We've now learned that those visits might occur late next week.
Yeah.
How about the kid,
from
Cole kid?
Yeah.
Oh, we had the cornerback from
San Jose State.
San Jose State committed to Texas. Important to get that first visit. Auburn did not. He went to Texas. He committed soon after he left. And then Auburn brought in Ronan Chambers, a transfer offensive tackle from Akron, who is currently committed to Tulane. They brought him in pretty much as a potential rotational guy, spell Mr. Percy Lewis if needed, or whatever else. And he has didn't do an exit interview. I think he's kind of keeping it on the down low.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But certainly one to watch should Auburn make a push. And we should know in the next 24, 48 hours probably what the status with him is and whether or not Auburn is going to make that push. Would y'all agree?
I would think so. And if they make the push, I think it's a smart one, if I'm being honest. You're talking about a guy who's a one-year guy, brings in veteran Power 5 snaps. And if you look at your tackle rotation, yes, you've got 15 offensive linemen on the roster and in the room. But beyond your two starters, no one has competitive reps at the offensive tackle position. So this is a guy that brings in versatility. He brings in that veteran leadership, a guy that can push probably your two starting offensive tackles. And God forbid, if you're Hugh Freeze and you have an injury, well, you have a guy with leadership to be able to step in and that veteran mindset. And you don't – I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a step down from the two guys, but you don't know that right now. But two – you know what I mean? Your whole season's not absolutely sacrificed because you're playing a guy who's not necessarily ready to play in the SEC. And I'm not saying that TJ Johnson's not going to be a great player. I believe that he is. I think there are several other young players on this roster that are going to be good. But are they ready to step into the league right now and be starters? Don't know.
Oh, where'd you get that picture, dude?
What?
Oh, I got to pull that. Did you not just post this picture of the cheers?
Yeah, I love it.
Let me see if I can send this to Zach so he can.
That's another. It's another Johnny Knox special.
Johnny Knox is about as good as it gets. Where's Zach when you need him? Can I send this? Hey, I'm just gonna send it. I'm gonna text it to you. That's hilarious.
Send it to the group.
It's not on my computer. The group text. I had to send the link to myself to even get on this thing. Okay, so as far as other visits are concerned, we're not aware of anybody else coming in right now. We're expecting. I would be shocked because Auburn still has, I think, 6 open scholarships. Is that right, Alan?
7. It's 7 open scholarships presently. Now, look, we have a phenomenal young kicker that's not on scholarship right now that we signed in this most recent class as a preferred walk-on. To me, there's nothing that would prohibit him from getting a scholarship if you have an open one to give. So you've got some candidates that are on the roster right now that are worthy of a scholarship. But I think Hugh Freeze is going to try to fill those with as many players as he possibly can, whether it's one-year guys, multi-year guys, but guys that warrant a scholarship in the SEC that can provide adequate depth if you have those injuries like we just talked about with Ronan Chambers.
Did anybody have a personal question of the week? The POW, the Q is silent. I meant to put up the post tonight for some suggestions from our subscribers.
There it is.
Oh my God!
So you got. See, this one's a little bit outdated. We haven't heard from Logan as much lately. He's the first one from your left there.
Damn, he got some hair, don't he?
You got Logan Adams. Then you got me back there. You got Edward, who probably will call in tonight. You got Grandma Reddick right there. Jeffrey is.
Look at that jawline, big dog.
Oh, I know, bro.
Yeah.
Look at like straight Ted dancing right there.
Then you got Alan Head, who was J Head when this picture was taken.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Hokinson. I don't know who that last one is. Looks like Reba McEntire, honestly.
Oh, what was her character's name?
That's the original.
That's the original one.
Shelly,
yeah, because Shelly was what on season 1 and 2, and then they flipped it to
the girl, who I'm your baby daddy. What's her name?
Yes,
talking. Kirstie Alley.
There you go. Good pull, Jeffrey.
Shelley Long.
Yes.
Her role was Diane Chambers.
Yes, it was.
You know what? This segues perfectly. Y'all missed my question of the week last week. We don't have to do it again, but I do want to know your answer to it, which is, well, Jeffrey, we talked to you. Alan, I want to get your answer.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a new movie coming out, let's say you're watching the trailer or something, and what actor needs to be in it for you to go, I'm in. I am in.
All right. So we got to break it up into types. So if it's a funny role, it's Danny McBride for me all day long. If Danny McBride does it,
Danny McBride,
bro, just give me that Jerry curl mullet and let me go. You know what I mean? I will watch it all day long because I can feel it down in my plums.
Yeah.
If it's a serious role, it's Morgan Freeman. I could seriously listen to him and watch Shawshank Redemption all day, every day, minus some of them brutal prison scenes, man.
Sure.
For old Andy Dufresne.
Oh, yeah.
Zach in the back has come to the front for a good reason, I suppose. Get us going, big dog.
We got callers on the line.
Say no more.
I believe, he changed his number last week. I don't know why, but I believe this is Kevin from Wilmer. So, Kevin, you live?
Be there, Kevin.
Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama.
Hey, now.
You knew.
Kevin from Wilmer, our leadoff hitter. Our proud leadoff hitter. What's going on tonight, big dog?
I got 4 questions for you, Jeffrey Lee.
All right, Kevin from Wilmer. What you got, big dog?
Tomorrow, Austin will have 21 touchdowns.
Okay.
And Demaya Cobb will have 22 touchdowns.
Oh, the young guy going for more than the older fella. All right, I like it so far, Kevin. What else you got, big dog?
And Cam Coleman will have 28.
28 touchdowns for the true freshman.
And Bryce Kane will have 28 also.
Wow.
All right, I like it. You got the running backs involved this week.
Yeah,
Hey, Kevin, do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Robert Duvall.
Oh,
hey, that's a fantastic. That's my dad's.
I said Tommy Lee Jones last year. Robert Duvall, I like him better than Tommy Lee
You
Jones.
said Robert Duvall too,
Okay.
Jeffrey, I think.
He is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Great job from Kevin from Wilmer there.
Peyton Thorne will have 300 yards touchdown.
Okay.
He will have 300-yard touchdowns
per game, 300 yards per game, maybe.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I think that's the hope, right? You're pushing 300 every time you walk off that field.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what you want.
All right, well, let's discuss this.
There's going to be.
I can't wait to meet Hugh Freeze at the fan day.
Oh, you got that penciled in, Kevin? What do you remember? Is it closer to the season?
Yeah, the Saturday before the season.
Oh, well, maybe we can meet up with you, Kevin.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'd like to shake your hand, big dog. Maybe get a picture with you. You're famous, man.
Talk to you later, y'all.
All right, Kevin, we appreciate you, buddy. Leadoff hitter, star in his own right, very close friend of the show, Mr. Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama.
With Robert Duvall. You know,
Robert Duvall.
My dad absolutely loves Robert Duvall, Lonesome Dove, can watch it all day long. And then probably not the greatest movie of all time, but my dad can watch Days of Thunder 5,000 times over, and Robert Duvall's character is his absolute favorite.
Underrated. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay, go ahead. I was about to say our POW, or I guess our personal question of the week was supposed to be a TV show that you can binge over and over.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, I like it.
That was the suggestion last week. I just remember I was going through the board to try to find it.
By the way, underrated Robert Duvall role, Four Christmases.
Yes. Oh. Yes.
Have you not seen that movie?
Mistletoe. Mistletoe.
Mistletoe. Yeah.
Four Christmases makes me think of Bobby, First You Last.
Oh, yes, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. They were getting a divorce and they go, 2 Christmases.
Oh, yeah.
TV show for me, like if it's on and I'm eating something, I just want to watch something quickly and I'll leave it on, and I've watched it 10 times. First of all, believe it or not, Forensic Files.
Okay.
I go to bed watching Forensic Files, and this is from the early 90s. This is an old show, but I watch it on YouTube, dude. And The Office. Can't go wrong with The Office.
I was going to say The Office.
The Office is good. Friday Night Lights. I can binge watch that when an old Tim Riggins.
Yeah, I can too. Now, it's a little cheesy.
Oh, for sure, dude.
I know that. I know that going in. And I'm okay
C-level acting threw me off from that.
No doubt. Definitely C-level acting.
It didn't stop me, Jeffrey.
No.
I hear you.
It's still football.
Yeah, right. Love Coach Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Buddy Garrity's probably my favorite character in the show.
There you go.
Hey, let's do some more. I want to ask y'all this, though. Since Kevin talks about running backs here.
Yeah.
I did put sort of a hot take on the board earlier this week,
mm-hmm.
And it was just a statement. I think Brian Battie needs touches. Now, it's interesting because Kevin brings up, obviously, no mention of Battie. He likes Jeremiah Cobb. He likes Damari Austin, and that's most of the fan base. They like those two. They like Jarquez Hunter. Battie is the one that I have not seen mentioned much, but, going back and doing these gradings, he just flashes to me. He just makes big plays. I mean, do you take that out? Do you just go, well, he made big plays, but whatever. We got other guys that could be really good, like Jeremiah Cobb.
Jeffrey, you go first.
I'm a Cobb fan. I am
too. I am too.
I think any touches Brian Battie gets should go to Jeremiah Cobb.
Okay.
And that's it. That's where I am right now. Convince me I'm wrong.
I'm not opposed to that. And to be honest, I can't make an argument against that because Jeremiah Cobb, in my opinion, is the future. And you want to kind of see what you got there. So why not develop that position somewhat? But Cole, I hear you. And I think he could be even more dynamic in the offense this year because you have the vertical threats on the outside to open those natural creases. So last year, the box was so compounded and just it's tough for a back that's his size, right? But now that you're going to be able to spread the field, you're going to have more natural creases, more open running lanes with the spread offense that we're going to be able to utilize, whether you're in 12 or whether you're in 11, because of the versatility that you have with a fair weather. to be able to split him out. I think you're just going to be able to stretch people so much more horizontally to open up those natural rushing lanes for him. So it's going to be interesting, man. He's a very talented kid. He's explosive. He can make big plays. But how much does that take away from Jeremiah Cobb, and how much different are those two? They're different backs, and Jeremiah's a bigger back.
Yeah.
But is Jeremiah where he needs to be with doing all the things he needs to do in pass pro? And is he where he needs to be in being able to read and set up blocks for himself? I mean,
do you think Auburn – I expect them to be at a faster pace. We've talked about them shortening the game last year because of the lack of depth. I feel like Auburn's going to be at least 10 to 12 plays more this year. And that's 3 possessions more. I guess not possessions, but 10. Do you think that's accurate? Do you expect Auburn's offense to finish the season averaging 10 to 12 more plays than they did a year ago?
They certainly want to. I mean, they definitely want to do that. To me, whenever you see an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball with Hugh Freeze, not just with any coach, but with Hugh Freeze, we know as an offensive coach.
Right. He's being selfish with the offense.
He is, but he's also loading up on defense.
That's what I'm saying. He's doing it for the defense.
Yeah.
For his offense. He's
exactly
right. He's indirectly being selfish to the offense.
He's trying to buy more plays. Because that was the problem. That was why he was shortening games. It wasn't because the offense was inept at times, but it wasn't because of that. It was because he was worried about the depth on defense. Didn't have it yet like he wants. And he was trying to help them as much as possible because you'd rather put your defense in better situations than your offense sometimes because points on the board. If you can keep points off the board from the other team, you got a shot every time, even if your offense can be inept at times. Defense still wins championships as much as football has changed. I still believe in that. And I think Hugh Freeze does too.
I think that's fair. And then if you look at probably your best playmakers last year, they were in the running back room, right? So if you're going to shorten the game, you're also putting the ball in the hands of the people that do it, give you the most versatility and explosion. And I'm not in any way trying to take shots at the wide receiver core, but it was what it was last year. And I think it's significantly different. You have guys that are a threat in the passing game, specifically in the vertical passing game. You saw that from Cam Coleman and A-Day. You're bringing in, 3 transfer wide receivers, all of which I think have potential to make plays in this offense. And then you've also got Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons, guys that, in their own right are fantastic wide receivers. And so we'll see what they can become. And I do believe they're going to bring in another transfer. Who is that going to be? Are they going to be a guy like the kid from Arizona State, that's obviously got proven production at the Power 5 level? I don't know. That's hard. Is Badger? Is that what it is? Elijah Badger?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see that one happening, but
me too.
I mean, look at the other 2 teams that are involved. I mean, you've got Washington, Arizona, and Florida, and none of those scream to me like somebody that Auburn should necessarily be scared of. Now, can they put a better NIL package together? If you're Florida, probably. But those other 2, I mean, I don't know. If that's your real competition, maybe you can pull the kid.
Kevin always gets us started right, man. Good talking points always gets us going. Appreciate you, big dog, Kevin.
We got a good number 2 hitter on this one. We got Anthony. You're live, man.
Fellas, that's from Montgomery.
What's up, big dog?
What's up?
How y'all doing tonight?
Yeah, we're doing better now that we
Pretty
got you,
good,
big
man.
dog.
Hey, Anthony, what's your show? What's your binge worthy show? Anthony had some good answers on the actor last week.
Okay.
So.
Probably the Martin Show or My Wife and Kids. I can always watch it.
Oh, that's a good
My
one.
wife hated it because I laugh at it like I say it for the first time every time.
Yeah.
She said that annoys her.
I'm that way with King of Queens.
I had a crush on Gina back in the day.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
I got the question for next week.
What you got?
All right.
Next week's question will be comedian that you absolutely do not find funny.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
That's a good question.
Okay. Everybody ponder that for next week.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, what's on your mind tonight, big dog?
So I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. First question is, some
update on I think his name, Dante Core, the corner. Just update on him. And then the second question is, as far as the offensive line guy that was on campus this
Brody
week,
Chambers. Yeah.
with Brody Shoals, on commit watch doing his official visit. What's the O-line room looking like for is that guy that was on campus this week? Is he like that? He's gonna get that slot that was for Babalo and Petty. So what would the offensive tackle like?
You're talking about talking about the kid from Michigan.
Oh, Malachi Goodman.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the transfer. He's talking about Malachi Goodman. Yes. Cole.
Okay, I'm with you here. Well, we've talked about tier 1 being Josh Petty, Andrew Babalola, Brody Scholl. I'd put Malachi Goodman in there. And the reason why we haven't before, I've known about him, but I didn't put anything into the guy because I didn't expect them to have a shot. But I have talked to some people and learned about this visit, and yeah, Auburn's going to be in this one 100%. They are adamant about being in this one. I'll put it that way. So
I'll say this: none of those guys you mentioned as tier 1 guys, Auburn wouldn't have a room for every one of those guys.
Yeah,
nobody's getting anybody's spot.
Right. They're not going to get all 4 of them.
Right.
But they would absolutely take all 4 of them if they wanted in. I think I have a pick in for Scholl. I'm sure you're probably close to that, Jeffrey, from everything we've heard.
Sure.
I think Auburn gets him, and then what? If you could get a Goodman with a Scholl to go along with what you already have in Cardi Smith, hold on to DeVaris Dice. It's not going to be easy. Right. Auburn knew that the moment he committed, that was not going to be easy. Holding on to DeVaris Dice. Spencer Doland and Ty Buster, who they love, dude. They love Ty Buster. So this would be the best Auburn offensive line haul I've ever seen.
Anthony, back to Dante Core. He is the cornerback from, I think, South Florida. Fort
Walton.
Panhandle. So he left Auburn visit. Man, he was ready to commit.
Yep.
We checked. Auburn was ready to take him, and then he postponed that commitment. He was going to come back the following week for another visit, bring his mom and everybody with him. That never happened. He did just cancel a visit to
Boston College.
Yes.
So here's the way I look at that, Anthony. If Auburn is still in the take mode with Dante Core, he's in. And I think Cole and I both put in a pick for him back then. He was coming. Auburn was going to take him something. I don't know if Auburn said, hey, hold on for a second, or what. Something changed, or that kid would have been committed. I feel fairly confident in that.
And I do have a little bit of an update from the Mississippi State site. Jesus. Paul Jones put something together that basically stated that he's going to have a summertime decision. He's got 2 OVs scheduled right now. One of those is to Auburn. I think the other is to Mississippi State. But the main schools in the mix are Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Missouri. That is his top 5 presently.
I think Ole Miss and Mississippi State probably jumped in and said, hey, whoa, let's slow down here. We really want you.
Oh, it was Mississippi State, wasn't it, Cole?
Mississippi State.
No, that's what it was. Yes.
Well,
so
I think LSU
was
and
Ole
Florida.
Miss.
LSU and Florida were in the mix to some extent, but I don't think they're, I don't think they're as much in the mix as
you're right.
Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn.
It was Ole Miss. It was Ole Miss who found out that he was going to commit to Auburn, and they were like, "Oh, pump the brakes." Was that right, Alan?
Yeah, because it was Pete Golding. They got him on visit. They got him on for a visit, and they like the kid just like Auburn does. They see the intangibles with him: the long arms, the length, the ball skills. He's a little bit raw right now, and he hasn't been widely publicized. But the kid's got a really great skill set for corner, and he can play in the SEC for certain. But when you've got a top 5 of Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, I mean, you're not a slouch by any means, regardless of your star rankings. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays itself out. But I do find it significant that Auburn and Mississippi State are the 2 places that he has official visits scheduled to, and we'll see how it plays out from there.
You remember that the 2024 offensive line class was what we would consider a little bit lower in the recruiting territory for Auburn.
Yeah.
Just not as many names out there. There were good ones, just not as many. I think that's the corner position for 2025 right now. And that's not a knock at Dante Core. They think he's good. but they're more willing to go all in for a guy who's not quite as polished right now because there's not as many names out there. They look at Dante Core and they go, okay, he's in another class. Maybe he's not one of our top guys, but in this class he is. We think he's one of the better ones in the class. And there's just not a lot of name offers out there in Auburn recruiting territory. There's one.
Not a stud group of cornerbacks in this class, is it?
No, I mean,
it's such a difficult. What you're asking corners to do in today's college football, it's getting harder and harder to be a corner. It's the hardest position on the field physically, in my opinion.
I think you have to be the best athlete on the field for certain.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about that. And I think this is a very deep safety class. But corner, you're right. And realistically, Auburn has done a really good job the last couple cycles of bringing in young cornerbacks. So if you're going to have a year where maybe you take a project, if that's what you want to call Dante Core, I don't see him that way, but if that's what you want to refer to him as a diamond in the rough, you've got the option to do that because of the way you've recruited, prior to this point. So this can be an off cycle from that. Just like you had offensive line last year, you brought in a 3-star that you really, really like, had a high grade on. And he seems to have a very bright future at Auburn. They've had him here and he went through spring and did really well. So we'll see how that one comes together. But I still think Dante Core is probably a take just because you haven't heard of other names just yet on the board. When we start to see other visits or action with somebody else, then maybe we shift mindset there, I think.
Good stuff, Anthony. Always a good call from you, big dog. Zach, keep us going, big dog.
6848. You're live. Who we talking to? Where you calling from?
This is Bryce from Beulah. How y'all doing?
Oh, Bryce.
What's up, Bryce? Been a minute.
How about you, big dog?
Yeah, I'm always listening, man. For the question of the night, I'll tell you last week's, I didn't get a chance to call, but Christian Bale for me. I don't think anyone really talked a lot about him, but the guy's just incredible in everything, in my opinion.
Is he your favorite Batman?
It's not necessarily like a series or anything, but I can watch The Last Dance, the Jordan doc, just over and over. No matter where it stops, I can pick up right on. Doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
Is Christian Bale your favorite Batman, Bryce?
Oh, I think it's the only Batman that wasn't just absolute trash, really. I mean, they're all Schwarzenegger and all that kind of stuff. They've all been pretty bad to me, except for, and that's, I think, more so Christopher Nolan, man. That dude's incredible, too, as far as the director goes. So.
Yeah.
I'll take the first one with Jack Nicholson.
I know how vouches of y'all things on the Wednesday show, but this week when I was kind of sifting through the board, Cole had told someone about posting something crazy and said, "I just let these guys keep collecting notches on their stupid belt." And there was another one where Jay Lee had said, "Use promo code Jay Lee's hairy ass for 15%." I don't know how much is y'all thing, but that was because I think Cole was honestly just being serious with the guy and just came off as hilarious to me. So good work on those.
Bryce,
are you Bryce from Beulah?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is your call name Bryce from Beulah on the board?
No. I'm AF Auburn.
AF
Auburn, yeah.
AF Auburn.
What's the kids say?
Air Force Auburn. I've called you guys.
Oh, okay.
Air
before.
Force.
I'm the guy stationed out here at Shepherd. And,
Cole was with you, big dog.
Yeah.
Hot AF, hot Air Force.
Oh, God.
All right, Bryce.
What's on your mind tonight about is the biggest thing that we've kind of seen with Freeze this offseason is continuity and the changes that he's made kind of with the coaching staff. It looks like on the surface, if you're outside of Auburn, it's like, wow, they're replacing both coordinators and all this kind of stuff. But really, Ken Austin is just sliding into a role that, it looks like he really, was involved last year. You get DJ Durkin, where he's coming from 2 consecutive SEC programs. So a lot of these guys probably on the team were recruited by him in some form, so I'm sure there's some sort of relationship with it. But just to kind of look at maybe a program that we could look at maybe this upcoming season is the first time that I can remember watching 2 SEC teams actively try to lose a game was that Missouri-Auburn game since last year that ended, where the guy fumbled out of bounds and all that. And everybody was really down and saying fire Drink. And I think he ends the season 4-8. And it was a big shocker that all season that they didn't fire him, right?
Sure.
Well, then he comes back and he goes 11-2 last year, and he beats Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl down here. And then you're like, all right. So I'm not necessarily saying that for us, but just kind of comparing to that team is we've got a returning quarterback. We got big physical wide receivers on the outside, same thing like Drake had. Good running back room. I think we're going to have an aggressive defense. You know what I mean? I don't know if we've got like a, kind of a guy like they had at defensive end. I can't remember where he went in the draft, but I just think there's similarities. So look at that 8-4 now with a couple of things. I'm starting to kind of buy in on that one too. So the question I have for you guys is, now I know this is probably going to be hard to answer until game one, Labor Day weekend. But with one of the biggest changes happening this offseason is where they're putting the mics, in the helmet for the quarterbacks. And I know, Alan, you talked about, this may stunt quarterback development a little bit, right? Because you got someone in your ear saying, hey, watch the safety, whatever. But for a guy like Peyton Thorne, is probably taking over 1,000 snaps in college now. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is something to help him out, because let's be honest, there was some inexcusable interceptions last year where he was just stepping. I don't think he even really read it. That one at Vandy was horrible. There was a couple more. I know that one, I flew all the way to Nashville to watch him beat the hell out of us up there in that bowl game. But how do you think that they'll move Ken Austin? You guys think that it's going to be better to put him up in the booth so he's going to be able to get kind of that view down, talk to him? And then what do you say? Is the same rules apply? Because I think in the NFL, once the play clock gets to like 15 seconds, I think all communication with that is the same there in college. So I'll hang up and listen, but thank you guys. I appreciate the time.
Fantastic question, Bryce. Alan, what you got?
So, Bryce, you're preaching to the choir. I think this is 100%. As far as the headpiece, I think this is going to really help Peyton Thorne. He already has good recall. He understands concepts. I do think as far as adjusting to a new offense, to have somebody in his ear to say, hey, just on alignment alone, option 1, 2, and 3 are dead. Make sure you're looking at 4, 5, and watch the robber creeping up on your right-hand side. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be able to, and we're a no-huddle team. So you have the added benefit of watching defenses adjust to you, and then you be able to make a nuanced call off of that. If you want to audible, if you have an RPO check, whatever it is you're going to be going to, by just not necessarily subbing, this is going to be a huge benefit to Peyton, because you have people that know this offense inside and out. Ken Austin's been in this offense for 4 years. Obviously, your main play caller was an assistant running backs coach underneath Hugh Freeze for 6 years. He knows this offense, knows the terminology, and this is Hugh Freeze's baby. He's been running most of this since high school. Now, he's obviously evolved it some, and he's added things and concepts, to what he's done. But this is something that he's had his hands on for forever. So I do think this will help Peyton Thorne take a leap moving forward. Now, you still got to have dudes, right? You still got to be able to win one-on-one matchups. You still have to be able to make sure that you're protecting the quarterback. The running backs are doing their job. And so there's a lot that goes into it. But I think from a quarterback production standpoint, this 100% will help him from IDing things and knowing where to go with the football, especially as you're transitioning schemes, because the scheme they ran last year, the verbiage is different. Some of the concepts are a little bit different as far as the objectives of what you're trying to accomplish. So I think this will definitely help Peyton. And what was the first question that Bryce had?
Was it Kent Austin being on the field or in the booth?
I think he's in the booth. What do you guys think?
I think he was in the booth last year. I think that's where he's naturally comfortable.
He's a booth guy for sure.
And you've got Jesse probably with him, Jesse Stone.
I would think so, yeah. I would think so. And then
Jesse Stone might be, Jesse works a lot with the quarterbacks, hands-on. I mean, that's your quarterback coach by default when Ken Austin is your offensive coordinator.
I mean,
Jesse Stone is fantastic.
I think they're grooming him to take over for Ken Austin at some point. I mean, Kent's what, 65?
He played at Ole Miss in the early 80s, so he was 20 in the early 80s. So that's 40. How many years ago was that? 50? Shit, he's pushing 70.
Right. So he's 65, maybe 65 plus, right?
He was a quarterback at Ole Miss when my cousin Greg Lee was a tight end.
Wow. Look at that.
The more you know.
Wow.
No doubt about it. And then I think he said a comparison with regard to Drinkowitz's situation last year. And I think Drink was 6-7 last year, I believe. And I think he had 3 straight years of 6-7 before he finally busted through last year. If you're looking for similarities, obviously the schedule's there, but he also transitioned coordinators on both sides of the ball, just like Auburn. Kirby Moore, I think, was brought in from Fresno State to be the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore's younger brother. And then I think you had Blake Baker take over as defensive coordinator, and he runs an aggressive scheme, cut his teeth underneath Manny Diaz, and was the DC down at Miami before taking a year off as the linebackers coach at LSU. So transition there on both sides of the ball. He's right. I think there were things that Kirby Moore kind of runs a similar system to what Drinkowitz did when he was at Boise State underneath Brian Harsin, but they're a little bit more up-tempo. And so that was some familiarity there for Drinkowitz to be able to lean on him some. And then Blake Baker is a very aggressive play caller and somebody that likes to overload the box, very similar to what you're going to see from DJ Durkin, probably a little bit different from the front standpoint. They're more even front, but it's a good comparison, I think. And if we can take that kind of step forward to 8-9 wins, that's going to be huge for Hugh Freeze as it pertains to recruiting. But stand aside for your guys' thoughts.
No, it's a good comparison. I think even Auburn might even have. I don't know. I don't know Missouri's roster well enough, and they definitely had some guys drafted. But does Auburn have more than them? They should. I don't know.
I think
last year's Missouri team, it probably not. This year, yes. The question is, do we have a Luther Burden, who's arguably the best wide receiver in the entire country?
That was closer to having something like that. You're definitely getting closer to.
Are you a year away from that? I think I saw today on Twitter that he is the only returning wide receiver in the SEC 1,000-yard season.
Right. I don't know that Cam's a 1,000-yard wide receiver in the SEC right now, but the young man that we brought in from Penn State can absolutely be a Theo Weiss. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he was the number 2 on that Missouri team this past year. And can Cam give you 700 yards? Like, if he can give you 700 yards, you can get another 700 out of your other side. You get production from the tight end. Your running backs are contributing. I mean, that's a balanced offense. And obviously, you got Robert Lewis that you can utilize in the slot or out wide. So, I mean, I think you may not have a 1,000-yard guy, but you got several guys that are going to give you +5 in this offense.
And the biggest thing with Missouri last year was Cody Schrader popping out at running back. If Jarquez or Damari, someone's going to have to either combine to be a Cody Schrader type back or have that type of year. Because, I mean, Cody Schrader was unstoppable for like 3 or 4 weeks there toward like the end of October, early November. But, Cole, you're thinking about Darius Robinson at edge. He went 30th or 29th in the draft this year.
First round, which – crazy. I don't even hardly remember that guy.
No,
Rakestraw went 2nd round, right? The corner. He was at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Rakestraw and
there was a safety.
Chris Abrams drain.
Yeah, you talking about a botch out of Spanish Fort. That kid should have been playing for somebody in the state of Alabama.
It happens. DJ James almost got away from Auburn. Went to Oregon for 2 years. Was good at Oregon. Comes to Auburn, he was good. But that's what the transfer portal does for you, right? If you do it
Certainly
right.
does that.
What you got, Zach? Good stuff, Bryce. Appreciate you, big dog. That's a great call.
7711. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
My name's Connor. I'm calling from the Red Barn on campus. I'm actually on a date with my girlfriend, so I've not been able to listen to the rest of the show, but I had a question I really wanted to ask y'all.
Get in here. If you're breaking away from a date, dude, hell yeah. Get a question off.
She's a keeper, big dog.
Yeah, I thought of it earlier this week, and I was sitting here with her, and I was like, oh, man, the call-in show's on. I got to ask it, though. So I've heard y'all on the show say it. I've heard people on Twitter say it. But it seems like nowadays coaches don't have near as, how would I say this? The long of a leash as they used to in today's state of college football. So just from how I feel, it seems like the Auburn faithful really likes Hugh Freeze. And I know it's just because of the success he's had, but would y'all say even if this year is subpar, that Hugh Freeze gets a little bit of a longer leash just because the Auburn fan base seems to really, really like him. I'm going to hang up and enjoy the rest of my date, but I just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts. Thank y'all. Where you going?
So he won't hear the rest of his thoughts. We can talk bad about him right now.
You're right. You're right. We can.
I hope this isn't the first date because there won't be a second. I mean, let's just be honest here.
Not with my wife.
She's going back to tell her. She's going back to tell her friends. He had to call in to the show on our date because no.
None.
Okay. Longer leash for Hugh Freeze because Auburn fans like him if there's a subpar year.
Let me tell you what builds a longer leash for a head coach early in their tenure. Recruiting. That's what does it. And particularly high school recruiting. Because when you get into the transfer portal recruiting, people expect immediate results from that. That's the hard part about transfer recruiting. You've now brought in all these guys that are going to contribute and play right now. When people are looking towards 2025 saying that's Auburn's year, then you get a guy like DeAndre Lambert-Smith who they didn't expect you to be able to get, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. This might be the year. I just would caution everybody, it's still we still should look at it at the same trajectory. 2025 is year 3. That's the year that you get your 80 or more % of your roster is guys that you brought in. And I don't think anything that's happening in college football today should change that. I don't believe in it. I'm not ever going to subscribe to this microwave society thing that I talk about a lot. I'm not going to do it. I still believe in this in this. Yes, you have help with the transfer portal. I don't care. I still want to see how you build it from high school, and Hugh Freeze does it that way. And I think it was a smart move because politically, with the Auburn fan base, you're buying yourself a little bit of time.
I agree, and I don't know how much I put into the Auburn fan base liking him, and I think that's important, right?
Sure.
But to me, it's more about your power boosters and the relationship that you have with them. And I think Hugh Freeze has been very transparent. I think he's done a great job of relationship building and making sure that they understand where he is in the rebuilding process. And to me, that is as big a piece as anything. Yes, the recruiting absolutely has to be there. And that's something you can lean on as a lifeline to show them like, hey, stick with me, be patient. But those decision makers at Auburn, you 100% have to have a relationship with them, and you have to have transparency with them of what your expectation is. Regardless of what everybody else is saying, your expectation better be very clear to them. So if you're telling them, hey, this is another rebuilding year, be patient with me, next year's coming, you got to deliver. But if you're honest with them, I think that buys you time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that ever happened with the prior staff. I don't think the relationship was there or the transparency was there at any point.
Or the recruiting.
So on none of those fronts.
Now, I'm curious, man. Honestly, so I think the floor here is 7 wins for this season. And I'm going to be honest with you. Personally, I think that's a disappointment. For the ads that they've had the past week with the 3 defensive linemen, with Keandre Lambert-Smith, I feel like anything less than that. 7 to me is a disappointment. 7-5 regular season is a disappointment for me.
And that's what you create for yourself when you bring in those kind of guys and you make those kind of moves. I mean, look at Ole Miss. Let's just say that Ole Miss is a 7-win team this year with all the resources they just put into the portal for right now. I mean, the pressure's on. The pressure is on. The pressure probably wasn't on Missouri quite as much if we're still making that comparison. It's totally different as far as having pressure on you. They were going to give him leniency to see how he builds the program because it's different at Missouri, number one. And number two, he was recruiting well for Missouri at the beginning. They let it go. Look where they're at right now. They're projected above Auburn right now.
So, and point noted on Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin, if he wins 7 wins, he in no way is getting fired this year. But
no.
where it affects him is his bottom dollar, because those guys that gave the chunk of change they gave this year in NIL, and you don't get the ROI that you're looking for, which is a playoff type caliber team.
Yes.
And that will sink your program quicker than anything, man. Because if you don't have NIL, I'm sorry, man. Like your recruiting is going to tank, specifically portal recruiting.
But it's not one of these things where you can go, well, if I don't make these moves, then I'm good because they're not expecting that much. Well, yeah, you still got to do it. You still got to win at some point. You don't get forever, and I'm not arguing for that.
You're just arguing for year 3. Like
Yeah,
let's be reasonable and let's argue to year 3, right?
Yes.
But I'm with you, Jeffrey. I think the expectation has moved. I think I'm still at 6 wins because of the amount of turnover you've had and because the schedule is more difficult this year because you're Georgia on the road, Alabama on the road. I still put probably the floor at 6 and the ceiling at 9, but my expectation is 8 wins right now. Like I think that's where I'm at. Is I'm expecting 8-4 at this point because of some of the moves you've made.
I think I said this not too long ago. I'm still at 8 wins because I'm still unsure about the quarterback position.
Yeah.
If I felt better about that position, and listen, my dad made a great point today. Alabama has had some mid quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Who have led them to national championships. It's because they had all the elite talent around them. And I think this is going to be the closest Peyton Thorne has at Auburn to having that elite talent around him. Obviously, upgrades across the freaking board on the offensive side of the football.
Yes.
His supporting cast has it's close to tier 1. I mean, you've got an above average offensive line. You've got an elite group for what I consider an elite group of tight ends from top to bottom. I don't know that you have a better tight end room in the country. I mean, that's an impressive list. Am I wrong there?
No, because you've got a combination of different kind of guys. Fairweather is obviously a pass catcher that brings you versatility from that big F. And then you've got Y-type tight ends and Luke Deal and Brendan Frazier. Or Brandon Frazier, excuse me. I said Brendan.
I like Brendan too. That's pretty good.
Speaking of the actor, yeah. And then the wide receiver room with Keandre Lambert-Smith, with Robert Lewis, with the guys coming back. Hell, let's don't discount Camden Brown. Then you got Cam Coleman, you've got Perry Thompson. You got on paper an elite group of wide receivers, and then the running back room is at the very worst above average.
Oh, for sure. You've got proven production in that room.
So if he is a decent quarterback, if he is a good game manager that can lead you to wins, this is the year he would do it. He had that presumably he had that at Michigan State when he passed for 6,000 yards. So I don't listen when Kevin says something about Peyton Thorne averaging 300 yards passing per game. I don't discount that. I don't scoff at that as much as I did a month or two ago.
No. I mean, but I'm with you on so Peyton Thorne is what he is, right? And I think he is a game manager. I think what scares me the most about that room is the depth behind him because I just don't know what you have still. You have no proven production beyond him. And we saw what Hank Brown did. Get him in the bowl game, which was impressive. Don't get me wrong. Coming off cold in a bowl game, being able to do what he did, that was impressive to me. And then I really, really liked Holden out of high school. But every time I see him in the game, he looks like Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn minus the glasses. You know what I mean? Like maybe we need some skull and crossbones interjected in underneath his face mask. But I just, I don't know what you have there. And that's the scary part to me because if you have an injury to Peyton, what are you going to do? And what does that do to your season?
So knowing that, if the talent around him does what we think it should do, that pushing me closer to the 9-win ceiling. Which is what we were talking about here. A 7 to 9 is where I am. I'm sorry. 7 to 8 is where I am.
Yep.
I think anything less than 7 is a huge disappointment.
I would agree. Because of what can go wrong, I still have 6 as the floor, but I think that would be a massive disappointment if you get to the floor.
And back to Connor's question, if you do have a floor type season this year, 6-7 wins, does Hugh have a longer leash because of his recruiting? Number one, Cole, I completely agree with that. You've got top 10 classes coming in. You've got top transfers coming in. You've got a top 10 class in 2025. You've got great relationships where you need them. does he have that longer leash if he has a floor type season? And I say yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he has the rapport with the boosters that he needs. I think the recruiting's there. I think the proof is there. Now, if you have another 6-win season in year 3,
no,
shit's
no,
getting hot, man. Like
yeah, year 3 is about that business.
Right.
You better win.
Here's the other problem. If you win, you're saying the floor is 6 if they have a floor season, right? Or 7.
Mm-hmm. I've got the floor at 6.
Yeah,
but
we'll go worst case scenario, 6-6 this year.
6 with Auburn's schedule, not good. I think it's not good because their schedule is one of the more favorable ones in the SEC. In my opinion,
the rivalry games.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Florida's schedule. Unreal. Auburn gets some, they get some easier games, non-conference. Even Cal, who scares me, I will admit, that they took care of business at Cal last year. They should be able to do it again. That's one of those that you look at and you sort of go, okay, that's probably a win. The toss-up games, though, you got to win one of those. I don't even care what the record is at the end of the day. You win one of those, you're going to have what's needed, in my opinion. At least one. You win 2, probably 8 wins is what I'm thinking.
Right, because toss-ups, what would you call toss-ups on this schedule? Kentucky?
A&M.
Oklahoma. On the road at Mizzou seems real rough to me, man.
Toss-up.
But let's call it a toss-up. So you got 4 toss-ups. And then we've got Vandy and Arkansas at home, which I think
those are wins.
I think those are wins. And that's where I'm getting my floor of 6 because I'm counting 6. Like, I feel like, okay, worst case scenario, Hank Brown's in the game. We're getting those 6.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you get 2 out of those 4 toss-ups? Because I don't think anybody thinks that Peyton Thorne or whoever is going into Tuscaloosa or going into Athens. If you're being realistic right now. Now, maybe that changes over the course of the season. Maybe these guys play significantly better than I ever anticipated. And so my expectation will change. But on the onset of the season, I do not see us going into Bryant-Denny Stadium, or I don't see us going into Athens, into Sanford Stadium and coming out with a W right now.
Yeah. Fantastic call from Connor, who I hope is not on his first day. Is the Red Barn like a smoochie place, or is it like a restaurant?
I don't know.
Is he parked behind the barn?
I know nothing.
Is that like the airstrip?
Oh, brother.
Trying
I
to
know
get second
nothing
base.
about this place. That's new to me.
All right. Keep us going, Zach. Good stuff, Connor.
5202. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Darren down in Niceville.
Oh yeah. Oh, Darren. Home of Khalil Jacobs.
So, hadn't heard anybody say Al Pacino.
Oh.
He's not in there for me.
That's a great woman.
Shame on us.
Pacino plays in some really heavy stuff.
Back to the original question. If I see him in a preview, I don't jump out of my seat.
Oof.
I just don't.
Look, Al Pacino, any given Sunday, I can watch that movie 5 times over, man.
That's not one of my favorites. It should be. It should be up there for me. It's not. I don't know.
Bro, I can watch that in speech all day long. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Is there anybody that was born to play a spot or a person more than George C. Scott playing Patton?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one, man. Patton's one of my faves.
Oh, I have to see that. All right, Darren from Knoxville. What's on your mind tonight, big dog?
Yeah, I hear y'all talking 6 as the floor and schedule's tougher. Isn't it tougher for everybody? I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, guys. I mean, if you look at where Auburn's falling in to the schedule, I'm not look, y'all sound like we've got a loss no matter what at Bryant-Denny Stadium. This is not the same Bryant-Denny Stadium. This is not the same Alabama. So if Alabama comes into that game with 3 losses, y'all feel like we're lost? It doesn't matter what happens already through the year. Auburn is not winning at Bryant-Dennis Stadium no matter what. That's the way it sounds to me.
Darren, you're asking me to predict what's going to happen in the season. I'm telling you right now, the roster talent differential, I think Alabama's got a more talented roster than Auburn. But what happens over the course of the season is significantly different.
Darren, I think you were the one that called in and said something about the placement of these games. And were you the one that said that about Oklahoma having to play Alabama right before Auburn?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
That matters. I agree.
I think, Darren,
Does Alabama play before Auburn?
Oklahoma.
I think Oklahoma, you said.
Yeah, they're at Oklahoma.
Yep.
So that's a toss-up game for Alabama?
Probably. Is Oklahoma going to be any good this year?
I really don't think Jackson Arnold is who people think he is compared to what Dylan Gabriel brought. And they lost a good bit of defensive pieces too. I don't think Oklahoma is as dangerous as people are giving them credit for.
It's just the name, the name Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They left a lot to be desired defensively last year, which is kind of strange for a BVG type team, man. You know what I mean? Like Brent Venables is one of the best defensive play callers in the country. And to see kind of the performance they had last year was disheartening. But we'll see, man. Year 3 and maybe –
Was that one of your toss-up games, Alan?
Yes,
Auburn?
absolutely toss-up game.
I think it's 100% is a toss-up game.
And I think it's one we can get in because what Darren's getting at here is, like, obviously, I think he's much higher on the upside of Auburn than maybe I'm giving him credit for. And look, I could absolutely be wrong, Darren, and you 100% could be right. Like, there's no finite line of who's right and who's wrong here. I think there's a very distinct possibility that you are 100% dialed into how this is going to play out. So I obviously stand by for your opinion.
Go ahead, Darren.
You're right, Alan. It's an opinion. I'm an Auburn guy. I grew up an Alabama fan. My daughter had cancer. Auburn came to Children's Hospital, visited us. Stan Wyatt, James Joseph, Stacey Danley. The team.
Oh, absolutely.
So I became an Auburn fan. I've given money. I've given blood. I've done everything for Auburn ever since. I can never repay Auburn University for what they did for me. Right. And my daughter survived. She's 34. She's deaf, but she survived, and she is a charismatic, smart young woman. Proud of her. But Auburn did a lot for us, and I will never be able to repay that. But at the same time, I get where you come from. Take all the personal stuff out of the way.
Right.
If Auburn wins that Oklahoma game, we go 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it is, into Georgia. I don't think we beat Georgia. Look, I'm realistic. Auburn does not have the talent that Georgia and Alabama have. Georgia's still Georgia. I don't think Alabama's still Alabama. I don't. I just think that there's pressures and things that Kalen DeBoer has never seen in his lifetime at South Dakota State or whatever those little schools were. It's not Alabama football. Period. Guys, there's a whole nother level of oh shit coming for Kalen DeBoer this year. And I just think that coaching wise, I believe in Hugh Freeze more than I do Kalen DeBoer, based on the fact that the man's been in the SEC, recruiting the SEC, and knows what that feels like at Mississippi compared to Auburn. He's felt it. He knows. And you're right. Year 3, no. Freeze cannot be 6th in anything in year 3. This year, he's got to show improvement. He's got to show on the field to these high-end recruits that the product on the field is believable. It will get you in the NFL, and it's sellable. And NIL will not get you that. NIL will get you the recruits, but you've got to prove as a coaching staff you can put something on the field that will get you to the NFL and get you big money. And I think DeBoer's got to prove that at Alabama. He had a Heisman Trophy candidate or Heisman Trophy quarterback and everything else at Washington and did not win the championship. So if I've got to take the 2, I'll take Freeze right now. That's my opinion, Alan.
And I think that's warranted, Darren. I mean,
He got me ready to change my mind.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with anything Darren says. And look, when we get to that point in the season, our opinions are going to be different.
For sure.
On the way the season plays out. Preseason, we're looking at – listen, what DeBoer has inherited at Alabama is leaps and bounds and miles away from what Hugh Freeze inherited at Auburn.
No doubt.
And that's I see you on the message boards, and I see you on Twitter. I don't look at Twitter that much. That's some crazy stuff. But I see you going, how Alabama missed out on a transfer. Listen, they're not in the same position Auburn was. You got to hear me on this. They don't have to worry about it that much. They don't have to break the bank for people. They're okay. They got depth. They're just trying to tie up some loose ends on some things. Now,
add some pieces, yeah.
Their DB room, they're missing some pieces there. Sure, I'll give you that. But this is not the same inherit going on. He's inherited a really good roster, a top 10 roster, maybe top 5. So
top 10 for sure.
That changes everything from how you were looking at it when Freeze took over at Auburn and looking at the schedule. They're still what Saban recruited to a very good extent. And that's what I'm looking at when I'm making this decision as saying, this is probably a loss this year for Auburn. It doesn't mean it will be. I'm just looking at it on the schedule right now going, probably a loss right now.
I think objectively, it would be very tough for somebody to look at this game objectively, look at the talent level on each roster, and objectively see where the game's being played. Sure, take into account who they're playing, and say, I'm gonna chalk that up for a win. Objectively, it would be very difficult to do that, Darren. And I think when Auburn's lost 21 games over the past 3 seasons, I'm almost
absolutely understand everything you're saying.
It's tough. It's tough for me to get over that hump and go.
History, right? We're basing it on if you go the last 3 or 4 years, there's no chance for Auburn to be in the game against Alabama. None.
That's true.
Talent, everything else is way in their favor.
I love this point.
I just somebody's going to sell me on that coaching staff in this league under these circumstances today being better, being consistent, being anything, because they haven't proven anything to me currently. Oh, listen, absolutely. Listen, he's starting out better than Ray Perkins did when Bear Bryant left.
Oh, no doubt. Because, Pat had already started to flip the momentum in the state when Bear stepped away and had a better roster than when Ray Perkins took over.
Correct.
But I'm with Darren. I will say this, and that is a game we played on emotion. And you're right. If Auburn gets off to a 5-0 start and you get some momentum going throughout the season, momentum has a way of carrying you in games and bringing a team together and creating cohesion that may not have existed before the season even started, things that we can't anticipate. And to quote Pat Dye, football is a funny game, and that ball will take funny bounces sometimes. And, there are block punts and momentum shifts and all kinds of things that can happen in games. So I'm with you. To say that Auburn has no chance in a game that's of that magnitude of the Iron Bowl, you can't say that. Would I predict Auburn to win that game today? No, I would not, just because if we're looking at talent differential. But because of the stage of that game, the transition that Alabama's in right now, I think it is a valid point on your part to think that Auburn damn well can win it. Again, would I favor them? No, but I think they can definitely be in that game for certain.
I'm totally 100% with you, Alan. It's not that I favor us in that game right now, but I've watched a bunch of 3-stars fight a lot harder than a bunch of 5 and 6 stars sometimes.
Well, let's don't forget what just happened in November.
No doubt about it. Had them beat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Nightmare and Jordan Hare. It's still a loss, right? So I'm with y'all. I can't wait. I've got tickets to California, Oklahoma, Missouri. I've got a bunch of tickets already and hotels and everything else waiting. I believe this team's going to do something extra. I think the 8 or 9 wins this year is realistic. I think this team will do that. And almost like Gus, what was it, 2013 when we went in and beat Manziel, and I was at that game when we
12-2.
But Gus was like, just keep building on each game. And next thing you know, we went from the outhouse to the penthouse. So
like this.
I just kind of have a feeling that Auburn has a chance to do that this year, and even better next year. I think Jeffrey's completely right. I think the seasoning and the marrying of all the seasoning of people and coaching and all comes really together in 25. But I think they can make a statement in 24, and I think they can win 8 or 9 games and get that one. Oh, shoot, we just beat Alabama, or we just beat Georgia, or we just beat somebody we wasn't supposed to. And I think that's going to be the eye-opener for people that Auburn football may be taken seriously again. Enjoy the show, y'all, and I hope y'all have a great night.
You too, Darren.
You too, Darren.
Great call.
Hey,
man.
absolutely. And listen, I'm not going to argue with him on any of those points.
No,
and
not at
like
all.
Cole said, middle of October comes around, we might be singing a different tune.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Good stuff, Darren. Appreciate you, big dog. Always a good
that
call.
was a fantastic call.
Yes. He always is.
77624. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is DC Wolf, man. Got a question for you guys.
DC?
What's up, big dog?
Sir. Hey, man, with the amount of players Alabama has lost this season in the transfer portal into attrition, Nick Saban had to really be over-signing to still have a stacked roster, for Kalen DeBoer to still have a stacked roster. On the heels of that, my question is, with Alabama's offensive line and Auburn's offensive line, is Auburn's offensive line comparable to the talent of Alabama's offensive line? Which offensive line would you guys take? That's my question.
Oof.
Would you swap Auburn's current offensive line projection right now? You can take it. You can take Alabama's. You can keep Auburn's. And I don't even know what Alabama's is.
I'll tell you what, Alabama's got some questions at center right now.
Now, they brought in a kid from Washington, right?
It did, but he did not go through spring, is what my understanding is. Is that right, Zach?
Yeah, I don't think he went through spring, but I think he's there now.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
He was probably good. Look, Washington's offensive line was elite. They just sent several guys to the NFL to prove that, so he's probably good. But Connor Lew? Oh, my goodness.
Well, and I'll say this. Alabama does not have the same offensive line coach that Kalen DeBoer's had for the last couple of years. Scott Hupp is off to the NFL. I believe he's coaching with the Seattle Seahawks now. If I remember correctly, did they bring in Michigan State's offensive line coach?
Kaplovich?
Yep. I think that's the guy. And he's a good offensive line coach, but you're talking about a new system for him. He hasn't been in this system, but a veteran guy. And then you've got other moving pieces. Proctor's coming back. He wasn't with them during spring. He'll be with them now. So
I wonder how Proctor, because he struggled some in pass protection. Being a bigger guy, being a freshman, that's expected as you starting at left tackle. My goodness. But the system's different now. They should be airing it out. So he's going to be in pass protection a lot. Is he the left tackle again, or do they go down to guard? They got to make some changes, is what I'm saying. I don't know if they've got it all sorted out as to where Auburn's looking at it going, all right, we kind of know where everybody fits now.
Right.
Quick synopsis of Alabama's offensive line I found. They've lost 3 starters. J.C. Latham, first rounder in the NFL. Caden Proctor's gone. He's back, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back.
He's back now.
So they lost 2 starters. Seth McLaughlin, the center, and J.C. Latham. So you got Caden Proctor back. You've got Tyler Booker back. And you've got Jaden Roberts back. So you're replacing 2 guys.
The former Auburn commit, Jaden Roberts.
Was he really?
Sure was.
I did not know that.
He was. I'm telling you.
I know you know.
I remember when it happened. Jaden Roberts, he was from North Shore, which is where Demetrius Davis was from. Same class.
Damn, he did. Roberts had been committed to Auburn.
He was committed. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's fixing to be a multi-year starter for Bama.
Talking about making you sick, man.
Well, look, that's part of flipping the script, right? That's if you're trying to flip the script, this is what you do. You don't let that happen anymore.
He was committed to Auburn since May, and he flipped right before signing day.
He was a Chad Morris guy, and when Gus got fired, and then it was made known that Chad Morris was not far behind him, that whole situation just fell apart.
Wow.
Now,
man, that is a blast from the past. Good stuff.
The names you just named, Jeffrey, are strong.
Yes,
Jaden Roberts, strong. Tyler Booker's strong. Caden Proctor, if you get him in the right spot, he's going to be elite.
And then who's the young man out of Carver that's probably going to slide?
Elijah Pritchett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good too. I assume he'll be there when they get
Miles
going.
McVay is a projected potential starter.
I'll keep it PC on what I think about that situation, but anyway.
Yeah, right. No, I think talent wise, I'd take Bama's, but I think experience wise, I might go with Auburn's.
And experience counts in offensive line play. Cohesion, accountability, knowing where to be counts.
I want to see how Percy works out. People perceive that I don't like Percy Lewis, and I like Percy Lewis. I like a lot of what I've seen from him, but he's totally different from what you had a year ago with Dylan Wade. That's a huge change. They're not the same kind of player. Dylan Wade's still there, obviously, but not at left tackle. Thought Dylan Wade was excellent as an RPO left tackle.
I agree.
Now, if you're going to get in the drop back situation, probably not your best bet. He's just not the greatest pass protector in those situations, but he'd be a lot better as a pass protector at guard in those situations. Percy Lewis was brought in because he is good at those situations in drop back. But how will he be in the RPO? So what are you sacrificing here? That's what I'm asking. That's what I want to know with this.
And then I think we all know that Percy needed to drop a little bit of weight when he came in. How does his body continue to evolve over summertime? Does he continue to trim and do the things that he needs to do to be able to play at his ceiling? And his ceiling's high. Like I have a high opinion of Percy Lewis. I think when he's right, that he can definitely play in the NFL, but I think his body's got to continue to come along to do that.
And I want to point out to the question overall, yes, Alabama lost a lot. They lost Caleb Downs. That one hurt.
Yeah.
Especially with having a lot of young DBs that are going to have to play now. But where Alabama was able to keep players, were in the right spots. They still kept – listen, you can have Nick Saban, not have him. They still got a good NIL program. And they're going to be okay as far as keeping players on roster, which is half the battle in the transfer portal. I would argue the harder half.
Retention is the part of the transfer portal that does not get enough publicity as far as how you should be graded, because being able to retain the guys that you want on your roster, that's a huge effort right now with everybody the way that they are with what I will refer to as pre-portaling / tampering, you know what I mean, getting in everybody's ear. And it's legal. So long as you're not directly contacting the kid, who cares if you talk to their parent? Who cares if you talk to their high school coach? There's nothing against it now.
It's called recruiting.
Yeah.
Did Auburn lose 6 to the portal in the spring window?
Ooh, let me look at it real quick.
I think it's 5.
I think it is 6, Jeffrey.
It's Jay Fair, Coy Moore, Colton Hood,
Cox, Williams.
Yeah, Brenton Williams. I think that was.
All right, I'm pulling it up right now.
It was not as many as I thought. I think I set the over under at 6.5. And
the old crack research staff.
Tyler Scott was in, but he's back.
Yeah, he might have been my 6.
Oh,
okay.
Wes Steiner was one of them.
Yep. So Coy Moore, Garner Langlow came out of retirement and entered the transfer portal.
And went to App State. App State's not bad.
No, Coy Moore, Colton Hood, Wesley Steiner, Jay Fair, Kyle Vaccarella.
Oh yeah.
J.D. Rim, Brenton Williams.
Rim. Okay.
6.
Yep. So it was 6. You can't count Vaccarella, and then if you don't count Garner Langlow, then we were just under 6.5. Which, I mean, to me was about what I thought would happen. I thought it was around 6 to 7.
That was our over-under on a call-in show like 3 weeks ago. I think I took the under.
Yep.
There you go. Wiener, chicken dinner.
There it is.
And listen, of those 6, you're only really kicking, yourself for Colton Hood, right?
I think so. I mean, I would have personally liked to have seen Jay Fair stay around. I thought that there was some value there with him. But those are and I'm going to be honest with you, out of the whole portal, those are probably the only 2 that I even care about that jumped in. Like,
man, this is bull.
I know. I mean, who else did you look? Maybe Donovan Kaufman, because of the snaps that you don't have in the secondary now. Yeah. Maybe you could have used him.
Sure.
But
they're looking for another linebacker, Cam Riley. He wasn't terrible last year.
Right.
These are all guys from the winter.
Yeah, these are all guys from Javarius Johnson. Maybe you would have liked to have had him, but
He can play.
to me, it's hard to say Javarius Johnson when you bring in Robert Lewis because you just have only so many snaps and so many balls to go around.
Where did
So-
Johnson go?
I think
He hasn't yet.
he hasn't. I think he's
Texas
decided.
A&M.
Yeah, A&M and UCF are the two that are like fighting over him right now.
See, he entered in the first window, so he can transfer to SEC school.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. He had somebody else in his top group. I think Michigan State was also in his top group,
Michigan State, UCF,
and A&M.
You make a good point right there, Alan. That I want to say that it doesn't matter if you lose, your best player. Do you upgrade over them, or do you
Right.
at least get somebody that's as good as them? And if you're worried about Colton Hood, and I think Colton Hood was on his way to playing time, they still are going after corners. If they grab a better corner, then you go, all right, well, we're good. That's not a loss anymore.
No, and I think that's going to be tough at this part of the window, but we'll see. There are good defensive backs that are in the portal right now, and you brought in a good defensive back in Antonio Kite, and I know that my opinion was that to this point he's not a hit, but I think he could be. I think he's very talented. I just think my expectation for him was pretty high to be the third corner. I think Colton was the third corner, but Kite could certainly surpass what Colton Hood could have been this year. You know what I mean? That's definitely within the realm of possibilities. So you may already have that replacement on the roster.
Yeah, right.
So the portal has closed. Auburn will not lose anybody else.
I think your mic's off, Jeffrey.
Is it really?
We can hear you, but barely.
Interesting. Oh, I had it unplugged. Little bastard. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. How about you? Is that better?
Still off.
Still off.
You might have to go in your audio settings and pick your mic again.
I got you, big dog. Boom.
There it goes. We can hear you now loud and clear.
Yep.
So the portal's closed. Auburn's done with it. Looking for some more visits. The Cole kid committed to Texas. He was going to be at Auburn on Tuesday. So you talk about finding that replacement for Colton Hood. It's still a mystery.
Yep.
It is.
We think linebacker Khalil Jacobs obviously is still on the table as far as we know. Because Ronan Chambers, the offensive tackle, we know those two have both visited. Seems like there was one other. Listen, if they're able to get this Arizona State wide receiver in, like, how do you sell that?
I honestly don't know.
I personally wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I think you're fine.
I think you could take a young guy for depth right now. Like, I like the idea of 10 wide receivers in the wide receiver room just because injuries do happen. And so making sure that you have insurance there makes sense to me. So do you look at a young man that's from CPC that was committed to Auburn at one point? I know he wants to get closer to home. Is Carmelo English in the cards? I don't know that.
Has he not made a decision yet?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I think he's still there in the portal to be added to somebody's roster. So is that somebody you look at and say, hey, that's a young piece that we can groom, that we could do something with? That would make sense to me to bring in somebody like Carmelo English that's got high upside that can learn and mature for a year.
Yeah. And relatively low expectations for immediate help, right? I mean, you're not a year ago, you're expecting him to come in and be a big contributor.
Absolutely. And now there is zero expectation.
Right.
He can redshirt whatever the situation is. I think he redshirted this past year at Michigan. So realistically, you're looking at Carmelo to come in and get his feet wet in the system, contribute on scout team and special teams. And then, next year would be the year when you lose a lot of seniors off this roster because obviously Keandre Lambert-Smith is a senior. Robert Lewis is a senior. Coy Moore was a senior, but so, if you fill that gap with him in this cycle, then you're losing two guys, and that's available snaps will be coming up in this time next year.
I'm with you there, young guy. The politics that come with getting another guy, maybe like Badger, I don't like that.
Yeah, right.
I if I was head coach, and I shouldn't be ever, I would be whatever causes less drama and politics is what I
Sure.
would go for.
Locker room culture.
If I can. And I don't mean that. I just mean like, look, you bring in another guy, then it becomes this promise you made to him.
Sure.
Well, if you're going to come here, we're going to make sure you're utilized. Well, you're also doing that with Cam Coleman, who you had to fight for. You're doing that with Keandre Lambert-Smith, who you had to fight for. I'd say be careful with that.
Well, and it dovetails into that balance that you talked about that you have to very much toe in the transfer portal, like between developing your roster and bringing in ready-made guys, because there still has to be a huge developmental aspect to this. Those young guys need to get snaps this year. And if you bring Elijah Badger in, you're giving him snaps. Like you're giving him big snaps.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't even mention Perry Thompson and having to hold on to him. I mean, you got to utilize those guys if you want to keep them in the program. Yeah, they love Auburn. Doesn't matter. They're going to want to be used.
Yeah, they want to play. They want to be featured.
Colton Hood, who ended up in Colorado, where they have lots of rarefied air.
I sure do.
Yeah. I've just been trying to find a place to use that, big dog.
I know you have, buddy. I'm waiting for that one to come out on the Josh Newberg show one day. And I'm going to be like, I did that.
You know who said that, Alan?
Who?
Mel Kiper. Oh, I was watching the draft. He used it.
You know what? He's been watching our podcast again. Me and Mel had these conversations.
Mel, call him, big dog.
This is why he gets his evals right, because he watches the Auburn Live College.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. We will be back Wednesday morning with a recruiting show. Probably have some new information coming out. We're going to keep an eye on Ronan Chambers. We're going to keep an eye on any new targets, any new visits coming up. Khalil Jacobs will be keeping a close eye on the transfer from South Alabama who visited Auburn. He is set to visit Missouri and Alabama this week. Will those visits happen? Will he come into Auburn? We'll see. We're going to be tracking it all at Auburn Live on 3, as well as all the high school recruiting. I'm going to try to get in touch with Dante Core, kind of see where he is. I know Mississippi State just had an update on him. Auburn just offered a new running back in the 2025 class.
Really like that kid. I put on his cut-ups for the first time. I was like, woo. He's got a different gear to him for sure.
He claims a 4.440 and a 10.4 100. So
I don't know about a 10.400, but he looks 4.4 on tape. You know, does he have that long speed to be able to hit it like that at a 10.4? That's moving, dude.
That's fast.
Sub 10.5 is moving.
That's Tim Carter moving.
Yeah,
for
hell yeah.
You old heads. Tim Carter was Anthony Schwartz, or whoever it was before there was Anthony Schwartz.
There you go.
Tim Carter, the burner.
He was
JP Powell is the guy. JP Powell is the running back from Miller County, Georgia.
Yes.
He's the running back. Derek Nix went and saw him and offered him on the spot. He's going to be a new guy we track moving forward. And don't forget, coming up at the end of this month, official visits. Hell, not even the end of this month. I think there's going to be 3/4 of the way through. A couple more weeks, we're going to get official visits going. So track it all at Auburn Live on 3 for all you YouTube listeners, watchers. Use that promo code if you haven't already. AU1, capital A, capital U1. Get you 2 months for $1. And I promise you'll want to stay on after that, because this is going to be a very busy summer, very busy all season for recruiting. A lot of big names coming to the Plains. All right, hey, we had a fantastic show tonight. Appreciate all the callers. Kevin from Wilmer got us started off right. Love me some Kevin from Wilmer. He's fantastic. Anthony from Montgomery. Man, we have fantastic calls tonight. We really did. Bryce from Beulah was fantastic.
Yeah.
Connor on his date. He said, hold on, big dog.
I know.
I got to call the big dogs. Darren from Nice. I hope Darren calls every week. He's fantastic. Really like
best
Darren.
call tonight.
DC. Want to call about that offensive line. Got us looking at the offensive line experience, returning starters, all that good stuff, man. We appreciate everybody listening.
Don't forget Bryce.
Watching.
Bryce from
Did
Beulah.
I not say Bryce?
He
Did I
did.
skip Bryce?
Oh,
no,
he
you
did.
didn't. You did.
To me, that was another great call. My fault.
AAF, big dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bryce was good AF. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was. Hot AF.
Don't forget, if you're in the Auburn, Opelika area, Lee County, Alabama, you're looking to sell your house, buy a new one, look no further for the help you need. Give her a call, folks. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. She is a star realtor. She is. Just ask me. I'll tell you. All right, we're going to do it, man. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Alan Head, for Zach in the back who came to the front, for Cole Pinkston, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of that left lane. See ya.